Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum where Devon and INT'L, the crisis between India and Pakistan. Now, this is not the first time it is happening. In the 70s, in the 90s, and of course 2000, have been at each other's throat. We're like wondering, will there ever be peace? Not even with that Kashmir, so to speak, is that particular region that both are laying claim to. Anyway, with me here in the studio is a lecturer in Unibe. We'll talk about history, international politics, you just name it, is well grounded to me. I call him a prof because of his antecedent in giving you histories and of course pedigrees of various countries, you know, the president and leaders. It's like, you know, listening to him delivering a lecture. You need to welcome Don Felix Osare there. I appreciate your comment, Prof.
Good afternoon, Wilson. Viewers at home, good afternoon.
All right, joining us all the way from the U.S., yes, New Jersey, is Honorable Ehi Egareva. Honorable, thank you so much for making our time to join us.
Thank you. Good day, Wilson, and thanks for having me.
All right. And of course, all the way from the UK, he's also a lecturer in the UK. And he's like, you know, his debut with us on the International Forum. Dreaming to welcome Austin and Nomayo. Austin, it's a pleasure to have you join us.
Good afternoon, Wilson, and good afternoon, viewers at home. Thank you for giving me on board.
All right. So let us start off from you, Prof. I mean, India and Kashmir, this is not the first time that's at each other's throat. And right now you see one bombarding the other. They've been at it for quite a while. And if history they want to count scores, so to speak in quote, it seems to be favoring India in terms of coming out tops in every of their conflict. I mean, what do you have to say about these two countries and their incessant fight and laying claims to the Kashmir region?
The relationship between India and Pakistan dates back to their colonial history. They were both under the British at the time. And when they were preparing for independence, certain issues came up. But the issues were essentially of religious nature in terms of their faith. The majority of the people in India were Hindu, although they have Christians, they have Sikh, they have Buddhists, they have a lot of other groups. And the territory that later became Pakistan were predominantly Muslims. So the issue of the form of government that they will adopt, if it was going to be a parliamentary democracy, and the role of religion in the state were contentious issues. So in this regard, the British felt it wise to, based on consultation with the leaders, they came to the conclusion that a separation would be more amenable to their interests. And on this account, the larger part of the subcontinent that is known today as India was separated from the smaller portion that was further to the north. Interestingly, we would have expected that this would be a solution. However, after their independence, it did not appear to be a conclusive solution. Rather, over time, they've had skirmishes. At times, it will deteriorate into open conflicts. And they've been involved in a sort of arms race of their own, to the point where both today are known to possess nuclear capability. And that changed the narrative, because when they were at the level of conventional weapons, it's a matter of how much you can amass, your allies that will support you in the case of a conflagration. But subsequently, India raced ahead, became a nuclear state, and Pakistan quickly followed suit. And it's common to find that in terms of the global alliance of power, Pakistan leans closely with the allies that are to the east, China, Russia, Iran, and the others. Then, reminiscence of the Cold War, India has been a close ally to the Western powers, particularly the United States of America, because India has had a very long and cordial relationship with the US, not just in terms of trade and other relations, also in terms, in contemporary times in particular, of development in areas that affect the existence of every human being today in terms of information and communication technology. So in fact, the Silicon Valley, that is the heartland of US ICT development, is powered essentially by Indians. And we cannot derogate from the fact that India today is recognized as the most populous nation in the world.
All right.
India has a sizable population. Pakistan has, but India has a huge population. And India at a time was the poverty capital of the world. India has been able to do a lot of strides, a lot of development in terms of human capital. Even though they are heavily populated, they've had poverty side by side, but we can see that India is consistent in terms of advances made in terms of science, technology, and even their legislation. So they are moving with time,
All right.
as the world is growing.
All right.
Pakistan does not have that kind of capacity.
We'll come to that. We'll come to that, bro. Thank you so much for giving us a perfect foundation for this particular discussion, giving us the history and the background of these two great countries. But one seems to be greater, but no one to agree with that. And let me go straight down to New Jersey, where Honorable Ehi Egariva is standing by. Now, these two countries have been separated for a while. People are thinking that this would just ensure that peace reign. How come they are still at each other's throats? Honorable Ehi Egariva.
Thank you very much. I would like to draw a little bit from my erstwhile lecturer's, lead. In 1945, when the Second World War ended, and 2 years after the British Empire or the United Kingdom was basically bankrupt, financially bankrupt, and it didn't make any financial sense for them to keep holding on to India, a vast colony of theirs. And their attention at that point in time was to take care of the situation back home, how they could find some kind of accommodation and economic respite for their people in the United Kingdom. And therefore, they decided to let go of India. And this was a very hasty decision. And primarily, the partitioning of India hastily is what has led to this crisis, because during the time they were granting that independence, it was when some elements, came forward to say we are predominantly Muslim, lumped, together with the Hindus. Indians were basically in India. We are basically Hindu, even though they have a plethora of other, faiths within the country. And so, hurriedly, just to think that Pakistan got their independence on August 14th, 1947, and India got theirs very next day, August 15th, 1947. And a lot of border crisis was left unresolved, especially when you look at Jammu and Kashmir. The dispute, the British people did not bring these people to a table to try to resolve this thing. They just hurriedly partitioned the country, left those disputes as it were, and left the scene. And trust me, when this happened, it led into a big crisis, which led to the killing of over 1 million people and the displacement of about 15 million people. That crisis has since then not been permanently resolved. The United Nations have tried in times past because they have a common source of water supply. And so from time to time, the Indus water, there was a treaty brokered by the United Nations so that, because that is now a matter of national security and which could pose also existential threats to Pakistan and India if the control of that water source is not maintained. So if you look at then during the Cold War, India, of course, chose to be non-aligned, but India is being the most prosperous of the two countries, and Pakistan, of course, was pro-West. India was non-aligned, and furthermore, I think it was during the conflict between Russia and China. That was when India showed its first hand and aligned with Russia against China, which brought them into close alignment with Russia. And a visit to India will show where their heart lies. In time past, all of their technology, their 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 transportation mode were all modeled after the Russian model. While Pakistan, because of their impoverished nature, of course, the United States has been their constant source of supply. They were the ones who gave them weapons to sustain the conflict in the Kashmir region, But however, I think given this background, but why this conflict probably was swiftly resolved is the United States' new direction in terms of global their foreign policy direction at the moment is to not get involved in any conflicts that will not bring, you know, direct benefit or does not directly concern national security of
All
the
right.
United States.
All right. All right. I'll come back to you, Honorable. Let's move straight down to where Austin and Mayo is like, standing by all the way in the UK. Austin, you've heard both analysts. They've spoken their mind on this particular discussion. UNF did his own bit to broker peace between India and Kashmir. It's like India and Pakistan rather. It's like it didn't work because for 3 times right now they've been at each other's truth. But right now it just seems as if Trump just made a statement or two. Everybody just like fall back to say, okay, fine, let's give peace a chance. Now, do you feel that with the intervention from the West vis-a-vis the U.S., these two countries can have lasting peace? Or what do you think is really behind this quarrel between these two countries?
Let me start from what is really behind this conflict. Like my friend rightly said, the thing that is really behind the conflict is just religion. There is religious sentiment. And the area, this Kashmir area we are talking about, there are a lot of intermixed religions there. There are Muslims, there are Hindus. And some of this Kashmir is being claimed by Indians, while the other part is being claimed by the Pakistanis. And as a result of this, there is always this inter war, inter conflicts, misunderstanding, and so on and so forth. So the main reason I think, although it has not been resolved, the main reason I think there is a pause now, I would say, is because of what my friend Garema just said. One, Pakistan is quite aware that United States will not support them. United States is not willing to give out weapons. And Indians on their own side want to develop now. They want, what would I call it? Better life for their people. They want to invest more on their people, on their country, rather than fighting war continuously and not getting anything out of it. So I think that is the main thing that is bringing them to the table for now. So let's let me stop there for now, and then I will come back because I have somebody that is trying to.
All right, all right. I will come back to you. Well, he said the major reason for this conflict is religion. That some of them, they belong to the Hindu inclination, others to the Muslim, while some other have some minor, religion that are still there operating in Kashmir. And do you think that when you talk about religion and development, do you feel that politics can really settle the squabble, Prof?
We cannot take away the religious undertone. But this present conflict that started in April 26th, was occasioned by deeper issues. Religion is always there. But the last conflict that is just being addressed occurred in the Indian-controlled part of Kashmir. And it was an act of terrorism carried out by people suspected by India to have the backing of the Pakistani state. Now, this is why it is not purely religious, because those that were killed in the terrorist attack were mainly Hindus. A Christian was among, a Muslim was among, and they were mostly tourists in the Indian-controlled part of Kashmir. And India has had reason over the years to accuse Pakistan of sponsoring and giving tacit support to terrorist groups. So it was not a religious argument that sparked this ongoing conflict. It was the killing of tourists, mostly Hindu, a Christian, and even a Muslim in the Indian-controlled part of Kashmir. And India accused Pakistan of having supported such groups over time. They did not say Pakistan sponsored it. They are saying you have links with these renegade elements. You do not call them in. And whenever they do anything, we do not get open condemnation. We are not seeing action from you to restrain them from further acts of violence against innocent civilians. So in this situation, politics is the major issue. Apart from politics, we must also talk of national security. Anywhere terrorism rears its head, there is always this problem that it does not distinguish creed, color, or race.
Yes.
If there's any explosion, anybody could be affected.
All right, you just hold on. I want to go for a break. When we return, we'll continue with this discussion. Do not go away. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum. We're taking a look at the Indian-Pakistani conflict. Yes, the impact of Trump's intervention. We heard before we went on that break that this goes somewhat beyond religion. Though religion is there, but this time around it's politically motivated because of the attack on Indian region of the particular Kashmir. That's the reason why India started accusing Pakistan of, sponsoring these terrorists. Well, I'll come back to you, Prof. Let's move straight down to Honorable Ehi Igareba. Is India right, or I say, was India right for accusing Pakistan without having a tangible proof, rather than them dwelling on the past record of the alliance between Pakistan, right now in quote, with this perceived terrorist group?
Well, I'm going to have to say on this, I'm siding with India, which what really happened on April 22nd is that there was a terrorist attack in Pahalgam, Jammu, and of course in Kashmir, which led to the death of 26 civilians. And the resistance force, which are the TROF also, they also linked to a Pakistani-based group called Lagda Taiba, and they claim responsibility. And lately, under Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister of India, he has changed the India either to position of caution. He has said now that look, anytime there's a terrorist attack on our people in Kashmir or Kaduna, wherever it is, we are not just going to go after the terrorists like we used to, but now we also hold their sponsors accountable. And if this group has been linked to the Pakistani government or a group that they support, India was not having it this time. They were going to take it out on Pakistan, and therefore India prepared to attack, and they did attack Pakistan with the Operation Sindor. Then, of course, Pakistan retaliated with Operation, I think, Buyang Masus, also, they have their names. And that's what led to the conflagration between the two countries. India have changed their posture of caution or cautiously wanting to only attack the terrorist group that attacked them. Hitherto they will go after just that particular terrorist group. But in their current foreign policy disposition, they are saying we are not just going to attack the terrorist group that came after us, but their sponsors and those who are backing them will be held responsible and accountable. And that's why India, decided to attack Pakistan as a country for harboring those or supporting those who attacked their own civilians in the Kashmir and Jammu region.
All right, so let's get to hear from Austin. Now, do you share his views saying that India is correct for reacting the way they reacted, attacking Pakistan, saying that the other ones given these terrorist groups support? Or do you think that India should have handled this situation differently?
I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me now?
It's very faint. Okay, if you can hear me, then I'll go on.
Go ahead.
I think I would say I quite agree with what India did, because this is not the first time. It is well known that Pakistan has been sponsoring this terrorist group. And if India refuse to, take action, it will affect their economy, because one, they want tourism industry to boom in their own country. They are also looking for a peaceful place for their own people. And for over many years now, this thing has been going on. It has always been kind of little attacks, little.
Let's talk about what I love about Nigeria. You guys have
Story.
Talk about Nigerian.
It's like I'll allow you handle your situation there. All right, let me come to Prof. Well, Honorable, he said his support of India and their actions. Some are saying it's not too rash. You don't use the past to judge the present. After all, this terrorist group might just be operating on their own. Why would you go attack Pakistan? And Pakistan said, well, since India attacked them, they're going to attack a place of their own choosing, which they did. So take it from there.
It's not always so easy to resolve complex issues. When I spoke about this earlier, I mentioned issues of national security. In this case, it will be foolhardy of India to be chasing rats when fire is burning in their home. They do not need to be extremely cautious. We are not advocating a belligerent or a bellicose foreign policy. India made it clear over the years that most of the terrorist attacks target her citizens, our infrastructure, and our interest, not the other way around. And these are groups over time that have been linked to Pakistan. Now, sad as it is, India is not insisting that Pakistan should contain these groups. She is taking steps in that regard. You act, we go after you. We've heard of the case of Mumbai, the case
Yeah.
in Goa,
Goa, yeah.
series of incidents against India. But interestingly too, we have not heard such happening to Pakistan with groups that are linked to India. So it has always been from the other side, and India has the capacity. Now this is where we should speak to the issue. This is not morality. This is about power, national security, and global outlook.
Power, national security, and global outlook.
These are the issues. And the issue here is that India is a powerful state. When you are talking of population, India today is the most population in the world. India just overtook China last year.
Yes.
We are not saying they are the most comfortable, but we are seeing commitment and effort towards making their country a better place. And when you are working assiduously in this regard, someone somewhere who is disgruntled, who has his own challenges, who sees your progress as a challenge to their ineptitude and whatever reason is holding them back, begins to launch attacks at your so-called soft targets, civilians unarmed. You are creating fear, and terrorism feeds on the fear of the populace. They will create a situation that will make your government look incapable of guaranteeing life, liberty, and the protection of property. Once that is established, your government loses credibility, it begins to lose legitimacy. You are undermining the very existence of the state. And when this happens, you do not act with commensurate capacity, then you are showing that you are incapable of guaranteeing the safety of lives and property within your territory. And your corporate existence, therefore, is called into question. India does not need anybody's assent. They acted, in fact, for the first time in the last 50 years, India went far into Pakistan, going as far as Lahore, the capital,
Yes.
going to military targets. Pakistanis are claiming victory. Of course, it's for their ego. They want to do that. They don't want to appear weak, even to their own people. But we know if you do stock taking, of course, India lost a jet fighter, lost some other military hardware, lost their own men. They are not even giving full account here, but already over 100 soldiers on the Indian side. That on the Pakistani side, there has been a blanket on the media, so you cannot get the exact number. Yet, from the reports that the Indian government gave, sensitive military installations within Pakistan were targeted and isolated, and they got good hits. What is the cost implication for an economy that is struggling to provide food, particularly for its citizens, as Pakistan is? Pakistan is always susceptible to floods, to mudslides,
Natural disasters. All
and
right.
Pakistan is always asking for global
Aid.
support, yet
Yeah.
you are buying arms. You are not even condemning the, assuming they gave up. I started by saying that they are not even making open statements condemning such acts. So you do not blame the Indian government. In fact, it will be a failure on the part of India, and Modi, as we know him as the Prime Minister, is somebody that is capable.
All right.
So you
All
don't
right.
just sit back and
All right, I'll
mark
come back to
platitudes.
you. All right, Honorable Gariba, now do you feel that India choose to strike back because they want to make a statement? After all, from what Prof said, he said it's all about power and some other factors.
National
Is it
security.
is it about statement that Pakistan, you come at us, we come at you in hundredfold?
Well, I think India has been acting with caution, given that the two countries, even though they are at war or they have what would be like an incessant conflict, a circle of conflicts, they also share a lot in common. It's just like the unexpected situation that happened between Ukraine and Russia, where these people have a lot of primordial relationship. Don't forget they used to coexist as one country they were the larger India, from time past. So this has caused India to play the big brother over time. India as a country has been more concerned in the last couple of decades about their national development and prosperity as a country, as against waging war that would distract them from this goal of becoming a global economic power. Pakistan is impoverished, and not that they do have a ragtag army, mainly backed by resources gotten from other countries that keeps them in the struggle. Unlike India, India is a focused country directing most of their attention and developing themselves as a country into becoming a global power, which they are today. As my prof has rightly said, of course, also they are the most populous country on earth today. So the Pakistani situation in Kashmir and Ladakh has been a distraction, but they needed to nip it in the bud. And another big reason why India has been cautious is that don't forget that India is a nuclear power and Pakistan is a nuclear power. So, and should there be a nuclear conflict, India will have much more to lose than Pakistan. So this has been a reason for their caution. But however, they also realized that these attacks are going to be unending, and that the Indian part of the Kashmir has been sort of a tourist haven, which has brought in a lot of revenue for India. But if they keep having attacks like this and hitting on civilians, that's going to, of course, keep a lot of tourists from going in that direction, and they will lose revenue. So they needed to stand their authority. They needed to let Pakistan know that, regardless of the fact that we both have nuclear power, we can go at it against you, and we can come after those who have come after us. But they needed this. The clearest message they've sent now is that we are not only going to be chasing after terrorist organization, but we'll be chasing after you as a country that we perceive sponsor these terrorist groups against us.
All right. Thank you so much, Honorable Ehi. Well, we'll return after this break. It's all about the, the contribution of Donald Trump, so to speak. Remember, he brokered peace between Israel and Hamas. You know the story too well. The war is still raging on. And he's trying to broker peace also between Russia and Ukraine. Some are saying only 3 days. I say, give us 30 days. The war still rages on. Do you feel that because both of them say they are congratulating Donald Trump for stepping into the issue, that's why they choose to go for a ceasefire. But how long will the ceasefire last? We'll be right back after this break. Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, this is International Forum taking a look at the conflict between India and Pakistan. Well, let's move straight down to UK where Austin Omayo is standing by. Do you feel that Donald Trump stepping into this particular matter, do you feel there'll be a long-lasting peace between these two countries?
To be sincere, I don't really think Donald Trump will be able to do much about the issue. I think the right thing, Indian is doing the right thing already. They've decided to take the bull by the horn, and if the Pakistanis find out that okay, Indian is not ready to accept this kind of heat anymore, I think they will think a way of how they will go about this. Because to be sincere, Pakistan has been the one sponsoring these terrorist organizations. And these terrorist organizations, their main aims is to destabilize those regions where they think India could make a lot of revenue from tourist industry. So now India have decided to, step a little bit forward to tell them that, look, we will not accept this anymore. I think it will continue for a while, and by the time they continue to get this kind of heat, they will know that, okay, maybe let's do this in another form, because the main issue, like my prof rightly said, is because of, it is still religion, because if you look at the people doing this are mostly Muslims. Although Muslims were hit, Christians were hit, Hindus were hit, but what they are driving at is still that thing of we are Muslims and we don't want you in our territory, because they believe that they own that territory. So I think Donald Trump is trying, but Donald Trump will stay only for 4 years and go, and this conflict will continue. But the whole world is aware now that, okay, at least India have started to, prove to the world that we are capable. We will not tolerate this. We will make our country safe for people to come in and visit. It is now left for Pakistan to say, okay, we need to, look at this thing in another way. Let's look for a way to, live together in peace and strive forward.
All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Austin, well, you heard him. He said, in a way also, it boils down to religion. And he said, the Trump will just be only there for 4 years. This is just temporary. After all, those terrorist groups that still in existence, do you feel that India should use the Israeli approach? Go into Pakistan and sweep out this terrorist organization, no matter where they are in Pakistan. After all, they did it. They went most of the capital of Pakistan, and they did a lot of damage to some installation. Do you think they should follow Benjamin Netanyahu's kind of, wiping off this terrorist organization?
No, no. The circumstances that India finds herself in relative to Pakistan is not exactly the scenario that is playing now between Israel and the Arab nations in the Middle East. Israel is a state that is in perpetual war because the Arab nations said Israel will not exist. Pakistan is not saying India will not exist. Pakistan is saying they want Kashmir. India is saying we also want Kashmir. We were together before. It was the kind of settlement that led to their independence that created that conflict. The only thing that is common to both parties is that Britain was in control of India and Pakistan when it was one country before the split at independence. Then Britain was to control Palestine as a mandate territory after the Second World War under the auspices of the United Nations. So both had Britain in the background. Now let's leave that aside. The method that India has adopted is a pragmatic method. When you are looking at conventional conflicts, it will be the amount of arms and ammunition you can deploy and your strategic utilization of these that will change the narrative in your favor. If we look at the aces on the ground, India will top Pakistan. But if you look at long-term damage, India does not want that. Because India has invested more in, as I mentioned at the beginning of this discourse, human capital development. India has more tourist centers within has immediate subcontinental space and even in the Kashmir region. Pakistan is not developing her own. Even if she is, it's on a limited scale. And we also know that India tends to have or has had a better relationship with the West in terms of openness, in terms of collaboration. We've heard of Bollywood, the Indian film industry that is almost known on a global scale. So we cannot detract from these realities. You will not expect India, who has invested all these resources over the years, to fritter it away in a short while. That is the reason why India has maintained that cautious diplomacy. And fair enough, India has more. So she tends to be more considerate.
All right.
And now the Pakistanis, even if they are not having state sponsorship of the terrorist groups, the fundamental argument would have been, what did Pakistan do to condemn? I started from there that they have not condemned.
Not even for what?
They don't. Again, we know and we admit to the fact that India has more to lose.
All right.
So India will do more to protect our interests.
Thank you so much, Prof. You can see we are pressed for time. This is your last statement of this particular discussion. Well, Honorable Egi, if you can hear me, do you feel that Trump's intervention will go beyond his own tenure, or they'll do it for Trump to exit office and their fight will continue?
Well, it is difficult to imagine that just the singular act of President Trump, via Vice President J.D. Vance and, of course, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who were the two main people who brokered the truce. It only worked this time, in my opinion, because of the current political, social, political, and economic situation in the world. What do I mean by this? India is currently locked in a trade negotiation with the United States, and that is something very critical to their economic relevance and growth. They need that trade agreement to be signed for India's economy sake, especially. So they need the United States support. So for that reason, they have to listen to the United States. The United States have been a major backer of Pakistan in terms of giving them weapons and all of that. And they also now know that the United States is no longer going out of its way to support a country that is in conflict with another one, which is not directly interfering with the United States interests at the moment. So the United States was not going to come to their aid. So both of them sensing that America at the moment holds the cards and they are not willing or do not want to be seen to act against the United States. They just have to play ball and drop their arms for the moment.
Thank you so much. Very quickly, Austin, right now, in 30 seconds, what advice would you give to Pakistan or India, rather, for there to be lasting peace?
Yeah, I think my friend, what he rightly said. First of all, that trade deal between America and India, Donald Trump, everyone knows the kind of person Donald Trump is. I think has played a major role because India want to, quickly sign that trade deal and, make that trade deal, of course, will make life, better for their citizens because there will be movement of goods and trade and, and Pakistan knowing fully well that Donald Trump will not support. Donald Trump is not ready to commit America interest into anything that will not bring dividend.
All right.
To America. Let me put it that way.
Thank you.
They know that very well.
All right. Thank you so much. Our time is up. Prof, I know we have so much to say. I know here, I know people have too much to say. But also, you have a lot to say about this particular discussion. But I appreciate all of your coming on today's show. We might have another time to really visit this particular conflict. You never can tell. I'll just report back to you. We'll do it again next week, Tuesday, God willing. Bye for now.